The feast of St. Gertrude places us in a holy place, the monastery of Helfta, where very powerful saints in close succession and also in company with each other held up that part of Europe and with it the whole church. There are amazing testimonies of what happened in these mystics. The one we're feasting today had such an intimacy with the Lord that he would talk to her as she was in ecstasy and would propose to her something of this nature. Which Mass would you like me to sing for you? And she would give her choice and her preference, and he would start to sing in Gregorian chant that one, and on it would go. One can imagine the joy that she would feel and the perfection of the Lord's voice. The Church has this mystical side to her life. It's the side that one finds sometimes in enclosed monasteries, where only love is produced, nothing is done, but much happens. And it's the side of the Church which also, as it happens, attracts non-Catholics sometimes, because they perceive there's something there which perhaps they haven't got. It's the bit that in our day, if we're not careful, the Church is going to lose. Those who have the greatest influence over souls are priests, and right now, on the level of the whole planet, priests are under stress. Often they are doing the work of several priests. They are also having to do types of work which were not expected of priests in the Middle Ages. A lot of paperwork, many meetings, not directly therefore priestly work, directly I mean soul to soul or soul to heaven. And therefore, what is going to happen? If they're the ones that are forming the souls out there are going to get short change with regard to the depth of spiritual life which the Church has by rights. What I'm saying is actually probably more than just a passing remark. It's also the open door to the enemy of the Church. Why? Because when something huge begins to operate well exteriorly, and for that to happen needs much energy, mental and spiritual, to make it function, then what's going to happen? The attention will be drawn to the exterior, to that functioning. But in the meantime, deeper issues will not be perceived for what they are. That is a very interesting situation for the enemy of the Church, of the soul, and of mankind. He will use this lack of awareness to make things, therefore, shallow, to make things human. Bit by bit, this then will give us a situation of very interesting exteriority, but something profoundly wrong, something profoundly lacking, and something sinister coming in to take up that vacuum. Confusion. I want to take you back many centuries. It was the memory, but it wasn't feasted on the level of the calendar, of an ancient saint, St. Nilus, the other day. We have, as it happens, a vestige of him not far from Rome itself. It's the only monastery in the Western world which has an unbroken history of Eastern rite, but under Rome, because it was founded way back there, south of Rome, at Grottaferrata, by Eastern monks, but they were under Rome before the division. And it has gone on to this day, and they look back to this particular saint I'm going to quote now, St. Nilus, a disciple of one of the greatest preachers of all time, St. John Chrysostom, a monk, a bishop, a patriarch. Patriarch actually of a very important see, New Rome, Constantinople. Now he therefore formed this man, St. Nilus, and he was one of these people who had an awareness of things. And we have what he left us in the form of prophecy before he died. And it's relevant to us here, right now, in 2015. Are you sitting comfortably? Then I shall begin. We are told, after the year 1900, toward the middle of the 20th century, the people of that time will become unrecognizable. When the time for the advent of the Antichrist approaches, people's minds will grow cloudy from carnal passions, and dishonour and lawlessness will grow stronger. Then the world will become unrecognizable. These last days, that has been strangely true. People's appearances will change, and it will be impossible, listen to this, to distinguish men from women, due to their shamelessness in dress and style of hair. These people will be cruel, that ring a bell? And will be like wild animals because of the temptations of the Antichrist. There will be no respect for parents and elders. Love will disappear. And Christian pastors, bishops, and priests will become vain men, completely failing to distinguish the right-hand way from the left. At that time, the morals and traditions of Christians and of the Church will change. People will abandon modesty, and dissipation will reign. Falsehood and greed will attain great proportions, and woe to those who pile up treasures. Lust, adultery, homosexuality, secret deeds, and murder will rule in society. At that future time, due to the power of such great crimes and licentiousness, people will be deprived of the grace of the Holy Spirit, which they received in holy baptism, and equally of remorse. Remorse means eating again, mordere, and it's the conscience hurting. But after a while, when that doesn't hurt anymore, there's no immune system, and we call it hardness of heart. It's everywhere in Western society. The conscience has been put to sleep. He goes on, the churches of God will be deprived of God-fearing and pious pastors. And woe to the Christians remaining in the world at that time. They will completely lose their faith, because they will lack the opportunity of seeing the light of knowledge from anyone at all. Now, this question of the light of knowledge is what we're at. People are not being told. They're not reading. In fact, few now, compared with before, actually do calmly take up a book and read it from cover to cover. It's difficult for them to, because there's too much excitement in the brain, which is habitually looking at a screen, great or small. It's taken away the taste for a simple, quiet page. So what knowledge are they getting from these screens? question mark. Then, and he goes on, I won't go into all the details. After expanding on this, he concludes, the all-good God will see the downfall of the human race and will shorten the days for the sake of those few who are being saved. Because the enemy wants to lead even the chosen into temptation, if that is possible. Then the sword of chastisement will suddenly appear and kill the perverter of his servants. Take away the mystical side of life, and we are faced with not belief in nothing at all, but belief in anything at all. And what has taken the place of truth and grace-filled teaching and light is, in Western society right now, a syncretism essentially made of pre-Christian teaching, practice and forces. New Age is not one thing, but a whole complex intermingling of things with one thing in common. It's very strongly linked with the Orient in its origin. It is modern, and it is something which therefore is respectable. So also is the feasting now of the ugly and the satanic. While the great Christian feasts of Christmas and Easter are by now the feasts of Santi and the Easter egg, so too the Feast of All Saints is the one secular feast honoured as such and given pride of place even in our calendars. The weekend, and indeed the week of Halloween, is a mega. And it's the one, whereas crosses and crucifixes are found offensive, give full pride of place to Satan in all his manifestations, in our supermarkets, in our shops, in our houses, and in all the angles of our Western society, screened and staged. Satan has won his place in society, and the Easter egg has taken the place of the cross. All linked with the fact that truth is no longer seen or taught. All linked with the fact that people are easy prey because their immune system has collapsed. This then is our society. A society which then sees as normal the voting in of marriage, which is basically solemnly blessed. Right now, in Ireland, still quite a few are receiving the Blessed Sacrament on a Sunday, but very few indeed are in a state of preparation. Therefore, these communions are adding to the problem, probably in many a case. Because communion received with dirt in the soul adds to the hardening of the heart that no longer welcomes the Lord of purity and does not feel his pain. It is no longer aware. And how many extraordinary ministers right now are in irregular unions? How many hands now of lay people are extended to bless children when they perhaps have just been engaged in impure acts or in Reiki? Stuff out there in our sacred assemblies, linked with lack of teaching. lack of light and lack of that true mystical awareness which comes from our true heritage, not made of Oriental practice, but of vision and sacramental grace. This is not just human, my friends, it's the pater of God and man having a huge victory, and very few seem to be aware of what's going on before our eyes.